Boom. Yeah, man. It's been a minute. Hope everyone's good. What are we dealing with right now? Let's just get straight into it because we got loads to do, right? All right, so I see that there's reportedly been 25,000 immigrants that have made it across the channel, across the English Channel or into English waters, British waters, since January.
Multiple lifeboats have been called out to help with the chaotic scenes in the English Channel. That's as more than 500 small boat migrants attempt to cross the UK today. Every French border patrol vessel in the region, along with a number of French lifeboats, are currently escorting multiple migrant dinghies towards Britain. If those currently in the Channel make it to UK waters, it will take the number of migrants who have made the illegal crossing so far this year beyond that 25,000 number. Well, joining me to talk about this is GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White. Mark, that big number, 25,000, is rapidly approaching us.
Well, there's no doubt it's a grim milestone, and we can confirm to you now that more than 25,000 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel since the beginning of the year. 600 plus have crossed today alone, all 600 having reached UK waters, and all have been taken to Dover Harbour. The figure is somewhere in the region of 620 odd so far today, and it may continue to grow because as we speak, more small boats have been spotted in French waters. They are under escort by French patrol boats as they make their way towards UK waters. So if they make it, we could be at least 750 for today. Just adding to that, I mean, we're already at 25,150
Wow.
for the year so far. So it just shows you how quickly things can clock up. And you're looking there at images of effectively border force vessels and lifeboats stacking up at Dover Harbour just in the last couple of hours. It was such a surge of small boats this morning that Border Force was completely overwhelmed. They had 3 of their catamaran vessels that you can see here out in the middle of the English Channel, but they were completely overwhelmed and unable to cope, and they called on the services of multiple lifeboats. We had lifeboats from Ramsgate, from Walmar, from Dover, and from Dungeness. One of the Dover lifeboats coming in there with a rigid inflatable lifeboat. That boat there was carrying just by itself 74 migrants from one boat. Another Border Force vessel had 170 migrants on board. I've never really seen a Border Force vessel with numbers that high before. We believe that was 92 that were taken off one migrant boat, and it also had the load from another migrant boat of some 78 that took us to 170 on that one Border Force vessel. Absolutely packed to the gunnels. And of course this comes just 2 days after our Prime Minister stood up shoulder to shoulder with Donald Trump in Scotland and spoke of the work that his government was doing to smash the gangs, getting on top of the situation, he assured the US president when he was asked questions about the state of our migrant crisis in comparison to the efforts that he's been making over in the United States to curbing the influx of illegal migrants across the southern border. Well, whatever Sir Keir Starmer says about smashing the gangs, it's self-evident from these images, Alex, that we keep seeing every time the weather allows, that we're getting record numbers, and we are at record numbers, more than 50% ahead of where we were at this point last year. And we're only now getting into the busy summer months.
And I'm not going to lie, man, that since I was a youth, we've been talking about immigration. We've been talking about the foreigners coming over, the illegal immigrants, the asylum seekers, the refugees. it's been talk in society, especially British society, and I think that the government have made sure that they've kept it perpetuated. You know, every now and again, it's a hot potato. They bring it up. Everyone looks over there, and you know they get away with their fuckery on the right and make everyone look to the left. That's just how it feels. However, I must admit, I'm conflicted because I can understand from a point of view of being in a country and then there being a constant influx of new people from different places, not really being checked out, not really being vetted, and some of them are getting up to fuckery. And the populace that are already there are thinking like, yo, why do you keep letting bare of these men come in? And like, you know what I mean? We've been trained to feel like we're struggling. Scarcity mindset has been a big thing. So we've been trained to feel like we're struggling for resources, struggling for, you know, just basic standards of living. Housing is a big thing. That's like, you know, that's been serious from how many years back. Homelessness, the state of the National Health Service and healthcare in general. Yeah, all forms of healthcare, education, adequate education, specific education, tailor-made education, bespoke education. You know, there's so many different avenues that the UK have been lagging in. Yeah, obviously the rest of the world have got their thing, but one man's floor is another man's ceiling. So comparing yourself to another country doesn't make sense. One thing I would say though is, with all the complaints that people have for the immigrants, what I do see is it's easier to be upset at brown people and brown crimes or crimes committed by brown, black, and other shades other than white. It's easy to look at them as the boogeyman. Like let's take what you call it, grooming gangs. Let's take grooming gangs as the prime example. Now, obviously, there's an issue with a set of men that are abusing young girls and young children, young people, and they happen to be from a specific demographic. You know, in a specific location, there is a high concentration of what they call Pakistani or Asian males in certain specific spots up north that are keeping up with fuckery, and the white population there are right to be upset. They're right to be upset. They're right to want to protect their children. But one glaring thing keeps jumping out at me whenever I look at these scenarios, and it is the fact that there's more white offenders than any other race, right? And it's like the gusto or the energy for tackling them and getting justice for them is not as intense. The fire's not as intense.
To all the people protesting at migrant hotels, these are the people who've been jailed this week for crimes against children. Oh wait, no it's not, one sec. This is page 1, that was page 2, and these are the people who've been jailed since Monday. So now it's Thursday, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Do they all have something in common? Because I can't quite figure it out. Somebody told me that all these people have something in common, but I can't think what it is. I've got some more pictures for you in a second, but to the people who've only got the energy for this at the hotels, you are living in an echo chamber, a social media echo chamber where you're only being fed information where you think that most of these crimes that are being committed by these men are coming from one particular group. Because how many of these cases did you hear about? How many of these faces do you recognize? You don't, because you are living in an echo chamber. These are the people jailed this week for violence against women. Oh wait, no it's not one. I did it again. That was just page 2. This is page 1 of all the people who've been jailed this week for violence against women, all the way from stalking all the way up to multiple murders. Now this took me quite a long time to put together, but what's interesting about all the cases from this week, from the ones for children and the ones for women, is that these two people here got the most attention. Now this guy here is some sort of medical doctor, so he made it into the more mainstream national newspapers, and this guy here, well, you can probably guess why he's the only one out of them all who pretty much made it into every single mainstream newspaper. He did something very horrific and he killed his wife, but you know what, other people on this page actually did the same, but for some reason they only made it into local media. It's almost like the media has a bias, because this guy got more attention than everyone else combined. Now I did spend spent a long time trying to put this together. I can't say this is absolutely every single case, but I think it is. This is not people who are in court. This is not people who have been arrested. This is people who've specifically been jailed since Monday, as far as I can tell.
Do you know what I mean? I think people are basically jaded and used to and numb to, you know, the native population's sexual deviancy. Like, we know it goes on. It's like, yeah, the nonsense, yeah, blah, blah, blah. You get me? If you get a chance, nobody's really taking much action. Really, when it comes down to it, when it comes to these kind of wrong-uns, we wait for the criminals in jail to catch them and deal with it. We want to hear in the news that this PDF file has been done up in the toilets or in the shower or in the lunch queue or whatever, boom, boom, boom. And we all scream for joy and we're all like, yeah, well done, lads, right? But on the street level, there's not much fear put into the heart of these people. They don't really fear the consequences because they're just gonna go jail. But when it comes to the other offenders from other nations that come here, you know, we got an issue. It reminds me of the black community, the so-called black community, and our apathy and our jaded responses to black on black crime or black on black violence. When it comes to black on black violence, yes, we are upset and we want to see a change, but not enough to really keep the fire blazing for more than a few weeks, a few months and whatever. Get out the megaphone, we'll meet up, we'll tell our stories, we'll get the mum whose child's been unalived or whatever to do a emotional speech. We'll do the posts, we'll do this, we'll do that, but then it'll kind of die out a little bit, you know, like in terms of the gusto and the energy for it until the next one happens. And then even now, it's just happening so often that the responses, if you could gauge it from a chart, from a graph, you would see the decline in these energetic, emotional responses from the community because we've seen it too many times. But when it comes to outsiders, namely like the police force or whatever, it strikes a chord with us. So every community has got their hotspot where it's like it invokes more emotion. And for some reason, you know, immigrants are the UK's hotspot. And I'm talking about the average white Englishman who feels like, you know, all these people are coming to the country and they're doing this with their girls and they're doing that and they're into crime and they're blah, blah, blah.
It keeps kicking off. And the anger is all too familiar. It started in Epping after a 38-year-old Ethiopian man was charged with sexual assault. The alleged victim was a local teenage girl. In court, it was confirmed that he had recently arrived on a small boat. Since then, violence has continued around the Bell Hotel, which has been home to asylum seekers for several years.
I knew about it and I can agree with what they're doing, totally can agree with it, and I would have come along, but what stopped me coming along was I was frightened in case it turned nasty, you know.
And it did.
And it did.
The police are demanding it stops.
But how on earth would you allow it to happen?
Feelings are running high. The violence left 8 police officers injured.
We will always facilitate peaceful protest. We will also always make sure that the voice of our community is heard. What we will not tolerate is those random acts of violence that we saw last night.
I'm just saying, all the numbers show that the biggest offenders when it comes to crime are the English, and it should be because they're the majority in this country. Anyway, man, I think when we look at these things, we got to put our biases to the side. And it's boring singing the same old song, but we should have come to the conclusion by now that the powers that be don't care about anybody on the ground, whether you be immigrant, whether you be native, whether you be black, brown, white, yellow, whatever. They don't care. All they care about is keeping control of their power and keeping the masses suppressed, dumbed down and docile and bickering amongst themselves yet again. You know what I mean? It's time to take that energy to the people that really deserve it if you got the balls. Get me? If you've got the stomach for it, then you need to actually stop going outside the hotels and terrorizing the 80%, 90%, 99% innocent men in there, people in there that have been through war, genuine asylum seekers, genuine people that are fleeing from deplorable circumstances. And may I add, a lot of these circumstances have been facilitated, created, and encouraged by our governments and our foreign policies. So we always got to remember why these people are leaving their country and why they think England's paved with gold. Anyway, that was that story, man.